Hey everybody, this is Rustin Rose of Metalholic Magazine and of course Metal Nation Radio, and joining us tonight, the incredible Cammie Van Halst of Van Halst. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
I am doing wonderful. We're doing wonderful, and let's get right to it. Congratulations, World of Make Believe debut album, fantastic record. You guys are getting a lot of love on the Canadian Loud charts so far.
Yeah, it's been going great.
Absolutely. So before we talk about the record, though, let's get a little backstory on you so listeners can better understand where you're coming from musically, lyrically, and everything. How did you initially catch the music and creativity bug?
I don't know. I want to say it started from when I was really young. Just always loved music and would never get off the stage. I think my mom had a large part to play in that because she's a huge fan of live music and made sure it was always prided in the house. And yeah, it's just something I love since I was little.
Was there sort of a point where you saw a show or heard a song or an album or something and you went, okay, this is what I know I have to do? I remember my mom taking me to a Bon Jovi concert when I was really young and just thinking it was the coolest thing. He probably had a lot to do with that. It was definitely the first album that I loved when I was a little kid was, I think, Keep the Faith from Bon Jovi. And then I saw them live when I was in elementary school and it was just like, whoa. So that's probably when I had that thought. They do put on an excellent show, too. Well, you know, most female vocalists that I talk to say that male vocalists are usually their primary influences. Does that hold true for you as well, or are there certain female vocalists that have influenced you along the way?
Yeah, I'd actually say the opposite. I'd say more female than male. I mean, growing up as a kid in the 90s, you know, I have to honestly say that singers like Christina Aguilera were always huge for me. I wanted to be able to sing like her. I thought she had such a crazy voice. And then as I got older and got into artists like Amy Lee and Maria Brink from In This Moment is probably my biggest vocal influence. She is so dynamic that I'd say vocally even more females than male, actually.
Interesting. You're literally the first person who's told me that. When we've talked about this. And well, you know, and it's interesting because Van Halst gets compared to a mix of Evanescence and In This Moment for obvious reasons. But yesterday I spoke with Otep Shemaya, and in many ways I see similarities between sort of your socially conscious lyrics and your ability to find the right voice to bring your songs to life. You've managed to find a unique signature, not just as a vocalist, but as a band, that while there may be some of those flavors of Evanescence and In This Moment and whatnot, you sort of made everything your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely what we try to do.
So now when you write a song, do you always know exactly what you want to do with the vocals, or do you approach them from different angles until it feels right?
Yeah, that's always different. That's always a bit of a struggle, actually. Depending on the song, you know, if it's a fast song or a slow song or what I'm talking about, you know, if it's something that I know I need to sound vulnerable because the content is vulnerable, then I'll have that in my mind and I'll want to make my voice sound that way. If the song is aggressive, then I know I'm going to want to sound vocally aggressive. So that stuff is decided pretty early on, but even when we go in and record the songs, there's things that change. I can't really tell until I hear back what it sounds like, what I really want to do and to adapt.
So it's a bit of a mix then, sort of playing with it. Now,
yeah.
Harsh vocals is sort of a relatively new addition to your arsenal, correct?
It is, actually. It's something that I've only been doing for the past couple of years. I've always really liked heavy music, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to get that or if I could get that out of my voice. And it wasn't until I really started listening to bands like In This Moment that I thought, you know, I could totally do this. And I sought out some vocal coaches to help me, and it was actually, it sounded really good. So we decided to throw it in there, and I love it.
And in a sense, I'm guessing moving forward, we're going to see a little bit more of that with what you do as you sort of develop those different things.
Oh yeah. The music that we're writing and the vision that we have for the future is going to be heavier sounds. And I'd like to learn to do even more with my voice. So I'd like to see what else it can do and show that off a little bit more.
And I don't want to get away from I want to talk about World of Make Believe because that's what we're here for. But
I did hear in one of your interviews you were sort of saying that, yeah, there's going to be more of that heaviness with the next record and stuff, but also lyrically, because this is a very dark album, sort of, lyrically, and the overall tone. The next album is going to be maybe heavier musically, but also there's going to be some lighter moments lyrically.
Yeah, we're definitely playing with those ideas. I want to keep the social justice element of our band because I feel that that's very important, and that these issues need to be talked about. But I would also like to talk about something on the empowering side. And we've started writing a couple songs about, rising up from the ashes, if you will, and maybe being in those kinds of situations and overcoming them. So kind of still talking about what we feel is important, but maybe in a different way.
Well, let's talk about World of Make-Believe, because that's what we're here for. Mm-hmm. The album has a nice continuity to it, but also an undeniably eclectic feel that doesn't sound like you played the record safely. You sort of did what you wanted. So tell us about the album from your perspective.
Yeah, we definitely did what we wanted. Threw some of the rule books out the window for sure and just wrote the songs we wanted to write and put them together. It started off with several songs, and it started as a solo project, EP actually. And once we started just writing more and realized that I had a lot more to say and that the music needed to be heavier, we brought the full band into it and just really wanted to, again, talk about a lot of these issues, and felt that doing maybe 4 or 5 songs wasn't going to do them justice, and that it needed to be 10. And we had various titles for the album, various songs to choose from, and I'm really happy with the ones that we chose, and feel like it's a full product that you can actually listen to from start to finish without ear fatigue.
Yeah, it's a fantastic record. I'm really enjoying it. Now, you and guitarist Scott Green wrote the majority of the record, but I understand your sister even pitched in on a couple of tracks.
She did, yeah. My sister is a phenomenal musician. She's actually a pop musician. And so it was a stretch for her to help us with this album. But, her and I were spending a lot of time together. We're very close. And just writing a couple songs acoustically. We wrote Questions together. We wrote Plastic Smile and several other ones that we didn't put on the album, but we're definitely going to do something with in the future. And we took them to Scott, and I said, hey, I think these songs are really good, and I think the band could do a lot with them. So I'd like to have them on the album. And they got arranged and put in there.
Nice segue, because one of the things I was going to ask you about is Questions, because it was a song that really struck a chord with me, because it sort of deals with how we blame female victims of sexual crimes. Here in America, especially, we have this horrible rape culture, and all too often we shame and blame the victim.
Yeah, I mean, that song specifically was written about something that actually happened in our home city in Edmonton, Alberta. There was a bunch of women that were being sexually assaulted in a specific alleyway on the south side of the city, and we had a very important public official kind of ask the question, well, what were they doing there in the first place? And that was something that sparked the idea of questions. And if you look at the lyrics of the song, it's just questions. Right. It's just repeatedly asking these questions. And I got those specific questions from interviews from, these public figures, city officials, what have you. And I decided to put that in the song. And even the clips that we use, those are real news clips. We didn't make any of that up. So we wanted that song to open people's eyes and to really sit uncomfortably and have people look around at the problem.
Well, and again, nice segue, because, you don't shy away from tough subject matter. You have songs about poverty, domestic violence, disenfranchised and homeless youth, as well as oppression through superficiality and corporate greed. Are your lyrics generally derived from specific events, sort of like that one was? Or is it more usually overall social concerns?
No, it has to, for me to be able to write authentically, it has to be something that's either happened to me personally or something that I've witnessed. So each song deals with something kind of firsthand, I guess. The ones that deal with the disenfranchised youth came from when I was a youth worker at a youth emergency shelter. And I used to run kind of music therapy courses, if you will, with these youth and hear their stories. And I really needed to write about them for my own reasons, and that's a tough job to do. So that's kind of where those songs came from. So it really does come from something firsthand in some fashion. Otherwise, I don't really feel like I can talk authentically about something that I know nothing about.
And these are very important issues and also very personal sort of lyrics. Was there a particular track on the album that was really sort of difficult for you to put together and finish because of the subject matter?
The toughest song for me to put together on the album that we had to retrack several times was Ryan's song, which I wrote for my husband, which is the only actual love song on the album, and it still has a dark connotation. That was difficult because you're being very vulnerable with somebody in a different way, and I really wanted to let him know how much that him supporting my career and sticking everything out means to me, and get that song out there. So that one was particularly tough. The rest of them, it's pretty cathartic actually to get a lot of those feelings out. Our song Put Him Down was written from a first person perspective. It was a domestic violence experience that I had before I met my husband, and that was kind of my fantasy song where I get even towards the end. I couldn't do much at the time, but for that song, it let me get those feelings out, and then you just feel great afterwards.
It was funny when I first heard it and was listening to the lyrics. I was like, this is like sort of a hard rock metal version of the Dixie Chicks' Goodbye Earl. It's the great revenge song,
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So now tell us about the artwork for the record, because it's really, I love sort of the classic look of it, but there's this dark element to it, and it's just really unique, and I like what you guys did there.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even take any credit for that. That was all our photographer, Renee Robin. We did an underwater photo shoot in a swimming pool, and she put the rest together. Like, she is phenomenal. And our marketing team at AO1 Inc., who did our graphic design and our website, they kind of brainstormed with Renee and just came up with the concept. She did all the design. The cover is all hers, and just nailed it right out of the park. She has an amazing eye.
Fantastic. Okay, so a couple more before we get out of here, just to help get to know you a little bit better. Give us maybe 3 records that across the course of your life were sort of maybe pivotal moments where you heard this record and it sort of changed what you were doing and brought you to where you're at today.
Okay, the first one was These Days by Bon Jovi. Still one of my favorite albums of all time. Man, anything by Shinedown really gets me. But Amaryllis was probably the most pivotal album that they had released for me. And then Black Widow by In This Moment is a huge influence on me as well.
Yeah, they're definitely going a little bit more industrial these last couple of albums. I'm still not quite sure how I feel about that because I so loved their first 3 records.
Yeah.
But, they're doing so well with it and everything.
That's exactly it.
And Shinedown, I love it. As a matter of fact, there's an article I have to write about their 10 best songs for Access this weekend. But
that's great. They're my absolute favorite.
It is so hard to do because the top 10 is just so constantly fluctuating with them. Although I have to admit, their new album didn't do a lot for me. It was like I'm not sure where they were going, It's
a little bit different. I find it's a bit more of a, I want to say, mature album, I guess. But I mean, I think everybody expects them to recreate the Sound of Madness, but
right.
you can't.
Yeah, sometimes you just nail something perfectly and you have to move somewhere else from there. So, all right. So, Cammie, before we get out of here, just for fun, do you get into binge watching TV or doing anything like that at all in your free time?
I do.
So give us some of your shows that you love to binge watch.
Well, my favorite show in the world is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I still watch it. I watched it as a kid, as a teen. I just absolutely love Buffy. The one after that would be Dexter. I was a huge fan of Dexter, and I'm just continuously rewatching it.
That last season is just so hard to watch.
It was painful, I know.
It was just so poorly put together.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not really the writer's fault. They said we need to have this 6 months earlier than planned, and they really forced it on them. And it was just So I'm hoping they'll bring it back for a season or two.
I know. At least make a movie or something.
Absolutely. Cammie, thanks so much for taking some time to talk to us. I look forward to hopefully you'll get down here to the States. I know you've planning some touring stuff up in Canada.
In the fall. We'll be down there in the fall.
And then, of course, hopefully over to Europe for you and everything. But we look forward to seeing you and seeing what you do with the next album. But World of Make Believe is fantastic. And you have a wonderful day.
Thanks. You too.
Take care.
Bye.